Hello, I'm Cheryl Grace, and we are here live on the Pink Couch. Yay, we're actually on the Pink Couch for episode 5 of season 2. So, here on Live from the Pink Couch, we have 5 career professionals who we call them our hashtag next level tribe, and they have each agreed to be coached live and in real time on this web series. We have 5 individuals who are at various stages of their careers, and we have visiting coaches who come in addition to myself, to coach them the second and fourth Sunday of each month. Now, each tribe member has identified a pink elephant that they hope to achieve. So, what is a pink elephant, Cheryl? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. A pink elephant is a big, audacious goal that you have to lean into in order to achieve, and it usually requires help or assistance of some type. I'm the help as our guest coach. And so we've invited everyone to join us, and they're all here. I want to take a second to introduce who we have with us, and I'm going to go in order of their career aspirations. So first of all, we have Ryan, who is the newbie. Ryan just graduated from college in December, and he's looking for his very first job right out of college. Next, we have Fatia, the hopeful. Now, Fatia was laid off from her job due to COVID, and she's trying to get back to work. Kwani, the hopeful, is looking to get promoted or to transition to a new role at a higher level at another company. Kwani can't be with us today because she had a death in the family. And then we have Darissa, our lone star. So Darissa is eager to start her own business, or more specifically, her own app. And last but not least is Therese. Therese is our career 2.0 mentee who is looking at starting all over from scratch in a new business after spending many years in a high-end retail career. So that's who's here for us today. It's a special day because it is reunion day. Woo! Okay, so I'm so excited because this is season 2 of Live from the Pink Couch. Season 1 was, of course, our first season, and we asked our mentees, the hashtag Next Level Tribe, to come back this episode and share what's going on in their lives. You know that here on Live from the Pink Couch, it's the only place that if you achieve your goal, you get voted off of the Pink Couch. So it's the only place where it's a goal for you to get voted off of the Pink Couch. And so all 3 of our alumni who are joining us today are back to share their experiences. They got booted. Some of them got booted. One is still working on her much longer term goal, and she's going to fill us in on where she's going. But we thought it would be great to have everybody come back and share what's going on in their lives. So without further ado, I want to introduce Darsh from season 1, who was our lone star. And Darsh was interested in starting a food truck that was of Indian food. And her goal is to get that up and running by January of 2023. So she's been working on that. Darsh, how you doing? What's going on? What's been going on in your life? Spill all the tea, girl.
It's so funny you said spill the tea, but more on that later. No, it feels so good to be back. It's so good to see Rebecca and Miley and all of you guys. It's been a hot minute. I'm really excited to be back. So I've been busy, which has been good compared to the past year where things had started to slow down with kind of speaking with bank executives for funding and also figuring out where that extra funding was going to come from. And I think now, people have moved away from viewing, I guess, businesses starting as a liability and more of an asset, which has been a blessing on my end. So spent a lot of time kind of, rehashing some of the ideals that I took away from this Live on the Pink Couch series. And one of them, one of the homework assignments that Cheryl had me do was talk with people who have been doing what I want to do. And so kind of went back to the basics too and re-interviewed some of the folks that survived this pandemic and what their game plan had been, because obviously no one ever had coronavirus as a clause in their business plan. So it was really interesting to understand, it wasn't just more of a bailout. It was more so, did they start doing more of delivery platform services, or did they just move on to a ghost kitchen and kind of shut down their, food truck or even restaurant and operated out of a community kitchen? So it was really interesting and honestly heartbreaking to hear some of these stories. But
what did they do, Darsh?
Yeah.
Give me an example of what they did do. How did they survive?
Yeah, so I spoke with a guy out of a taqueria, and out of respect for him, don't really want to say his name, but
yeah, no, I don't need names.
He had mentioned that, they had a booming business in Chicago, and obviously a lot of businesses, especially in the restaurant industry, have been hard hit because of COVID. And so he was spending $3,000 on rent, but was making close to $1,000 in profits, where he was seeing usually $5,000 in a week, right? And so compare that to what he'd been seeing in a month, to what he would make in a day. That was a huge dent in his business. And to keep him from shutting down, he kind of pivoted and started doing a lot more of an online business model where, he wasn't using your DoorDashes or Postmates to wean away from the commission standpoint that you owe to these platforms every single time that you place an order. As a restaurant owner, these delivery platforms get a 30 to 40% commission of your, for example, $30 order. That delivery platform gets a 30% cut of that. And so he moved into a ghost kitchen, meaning it's a community kitchen where 6 to 7 businesses operate in a co-ed kitchen, and, they operate without a brick and mortar store. And they just, deliver goods from that store. So what he was able to do was alleviate some of the rent concerns that came from owning a brick and mortar property and transferring that over to, in a way, virtually operating his business without having people come and visit, and also started doing cooking classes, which I thought was really interesting. Started doing virtual cooking classes. So it was more so like, how do you make tacos al pastor? Or this is how I make my family's version of guacamole.
And have you incorporated, I'm sorry for interrupting, have you incorporated any of these strategies, or where are you with your food truck, and where are you with your hot sauce? Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, so I finally ended up bottling the first hot sauce. And now family has been tasting that. I'm obviously not in any position to start selling, especially given that licensing and labeling is taking a lot of time. But finally figured out how to how to jar my own hot sauce at home with mason jar bottles. So that's been really fun. And it's also been really exciting to kind of use up some of the local produce through that, to incorporate that into the hot sauce jars. Also, I started an Instagram channel called Spill the Chai. But CHAI, but it's CHI, so shy for Chicago. And so that's why I was like, oh, it's funny that you mentioned shy. And so really excited about that. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar, but I am vegan, and vegan food has been something that has been in the cornerstone of a lot of things that I've been doing. So it's been really great to kind of connect with industry locals and industry representatives based on that, to understand kind of how they're pivoting the pandemic, but also kind of discovering local folks within the community as well. And I myself now have been posting on that Instagram channel to share a bit more about my adventures in Chicago and vegan restaurants within the city as well.
Fabulous. So I know that Darissa, who is our Lone Star, I know that your business models are different,
Mhm.
but you both are faced with the same dilemma as is anybody who has a startup, and that is raising money, raising money. So, any tips that you can provide, Darissa? I know when we ended last season, you had developed your business plan. We had you going out and starting to meet directly with small business uh, uh, agencies and loan advisors. And so, and Darissa has a goal of raising $50,000 by July. So, share with each other. Darissa, questions for Darsh, and let's take another minute and see if there's something you guys can share with each other.
Yeah, I'm open to if you have any questions, and I can obviously share kind of what I've been going or what route I went through. Honestly, banks are interesting. And so keep an eye out on what interest rate they are charging you when you are applying for these loans, because you are able to negotiate that down. And kind of what I discovered in that process was going through a credit union is way cheaper in the long term as it would be, with a Fortune 50 bank. And usually credit unions are also super, super nice in terms of wanting to support local businesses and wanting to see them flourish within the community as well. So that's the route that I've been going. One thing that I've been also doing is, kind of taking it back to college. I used to love applying for scholarships. So now I've been applying to grants for free money. And for those who don't know, grants are money that is money that you don't need to pay back. So why take out a loan when you can get free money? So that's kind of been my thought process as well. There's been a lot of startups that have been happening for folks who are, for food specific. There's been folks who've been doing a Kickstarter campaign or even a GoFundMe. And rather than giving away commission to those platforms, go directly to the source. A lot of food brands host their own competitions as kind of an incubator where you're able to, submit your product idea and your business pitch and, see if you can get some money out of that. And even without the money, even if you get through the first round, you get the notoriety from being part of that platform, right? I feel like it's kind of like a Shark Tank thing. People don't just go to Shark Tank to get money. It's more so, I was on Shark Tank. Here's my product. But that's my.
And are you finding, Darissa, per what you're hearing from Darsh, have you heard of any incubators or any special types of initiatives that exist if you're interested in technology or an app or grants for an app?
Yeah, so I have been doing a lot of research and paying attention to what has been coming about for pitch competitions, as well as grants, as well as incubators or accelerators, as they're called. A lot of them are very exciting. What I found, though, is that particularly with some accelerators, they cost money to join them, like upwards of $1,000 to $3,000 for maybe like a 6 or 7 week accelerator program. So that is something that I would need to put into a budget, a fundraising budget, if I were to pursue some accelerators. Some of them do offer scholarships, but it's highly competitive. And where I am in my process is at the pre-seed round. Mm-hmm. And there are certain types of investors that I have to target that would be interested in a company that's in the pre-seed, which basically means you're still kind of sort of in the ideal phase and you haven't raised any, you haven't had any revenues come in yet from your product. So that's the space that I'm in. And it's really exciting too, because I see so much support, particularly for Black women right now and people of color coming about, which has been really, helpful and encouraging. And I participated in my first pitch competition, which I shared on the last episode. And that pitch competition was specifically for Black entrepreneurs in the DMV or DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So there are opportunities that are coming about that I am availing myself of. And my next goal will be to do my friends and family round of investors. So pitching my family and friends and, hoping they can chip in something to help me get to that next stage in my growth. And Darsh, you've been an inspiration. I did watch the first season of Live from the Pink Couch, and I saw your journey and the things that, you shared with us. So thank you so much for your advice and for your example.
No, sorry, I was on mute. That's awesome. I think the tech space is booming right now. And I feel like, especially with pre-seed, even if you end up going the VC route, I feel like it'd be really cool to see. And I'm assuming it's Cause Music in the background is the app that you're planning on developing. Would be really cool to get that into market. So honestly, I'm going to sit and keep tabs just to see how everything's been.
Well, don't just keep tabs. When she launches it, make sure you download it, purchase it and download it. But Darsh, do you have any overall advice to any of the next level tribe members?
Yeah. I guess in terms of advice, you need to balance the fun stuff with the hard stuff. And that was a piece of advice that I got really, really early on, not only from Cheryl, but also kind of going in through the process. I feel like, with developing an app or, running a restaurant or running the food truck, you always get bogged up in the details of like, oh, this is the curtain that I would put, or this is the plate that I want to put. But you're also like, who's paying for these curtains and who's buying these plates? So I think it's really important to kind of have a level head in terms of, just because you spend an hour picking out curtains for your restaurant, or you spend an hour designing the CSS code for your app, right? You need to also balance that with in terms of, how are you going to process that app, or how are you going to process some of these payments too? And so I think that is one piece of advice that I would give. It's really awesome that you get excited about the little things, but it's also important to kind of balance that out with some of the big things that will help you build that. Hopefully that wasn't confusing.
No, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Darsh. Don't go away. We've got a couple of your alumni season 1 hashtag next level tribe members here. We got Miley. And for those of you who tune in for season 1, Miley had been working for about 16 years. 3 of those years she had spent at a nonprofit organization, and she wanted to get a promotion, and she also wanted to get a raise. And so she achieved her pink elephant goal, and she got both of them. So Miley, it'll be a year in July?
I think so. July or August.
Okay. So welcome back, and tell us, how's it been? Is it what you expected? What's going on?
It has been great. And it has been a super, super, super busy year. We have really been at the organization I work for. It's a human rights organization. And, this year has been so difficult for so many different reasons. And so we have been really busy. I think, when I think it was probably a year ago, maybe a little bit longer now, we had just started to really leverage our internal communications capacity, because it was so important as we had to learn how to deal with coronavirus. And, I would say that nothing has really slowed down. If anything, it's, over the summer, with all the racial reckoning and just this continuation of really impactful things happening in society. So, I think the promotion had given me space to then bring more supports into the team. When we had when I was in season 1, there was, Cheryl, you had, raised really good points about, you need to be able to think more strategically. And I was in this place where I was really doing a lot of the day-to-day work, which is still very important, but we needed to build the team, and I needed to have more space to think what can take us as a comms and marketing function to the next level. So we were able to add a few team members, so the team has grown, which has alleviated, I wouldn't say alleviated, but made more space for strategic thinking, things that we need to be thinking about goals, that we need to start putting more strategy around for a year or two from now. So, that's been very, very helpful. And I think my team has been able to grow too professionally as they've stepped into these other roles and have started to, because there was also promotions in my team. So they've now started to manage people. So I was able sort of to step away from managing so many individuals, not that I didn't want to, but it didn't give me the time I needed to grow myself in my career. So yeah, I mean, that's, kind of how it's been, learned a lot, working from home, totally different environment for me. And I think, for a comms and marketing team, we generally are a bunch that likes to talk and, have that human connection. So, that's been something we've been learning to adapt to. But overall, I mean, it's been good. It's really been good. And I'm working right now on a lot of the communications and marketing plans to help launch our organization's new strategic plan. So I think in the past, without this promotion and the ability to extend the team, I wouldn't be able to devote as much time to this really important body of work that I am able to do today. So yeah, so that's kind of where it's been.
You sound happy. And sometimes, and not that this is going to happen to anyone who is here, sometimes achieving your dream or getting your goal isn't always what it was cracked up to be. But you sound happy, Miley. You sound as if, you are still growing, still learning, still working with the team, but leading from a visionary perspective. Is there any advice that you would give on anyone seeking growth within their company or seeking a new job? Is there any advice that you would pass on?
Yeah, I think one realization I had through this process and being part of the Pink Couch was to sort of stop and smell the roses and kind of evaluate. I was in this place where I was just going, and taking that pause to take stock of where have my accomplishments been and how do I lift them up to help me get to the next level in my career, and to not be afraid to make your case and to let yourself shine. And Cheryl, you had shared this with me and it's stuck with me, is to know your value, and that's not braggadocious, but able to recognize it, acknowledge it, and expect others to, and that's okay. So that's something that I would share, is just remember to keep that list of things you're doing, because it can get lost in the day-to-day. But I think remembering that list, being proud of your work and not being afraid to ask for it, because you've got proof why you deserve it,
I am so happy that that's one of the things that stuck out. That was one of the things that we discussed a lot in season 1, because Miley is such a team leader and a group, she comes from a very group mindset that we thought she wasn't putting her own accomplishments first so that it would distinguish her from the team. And so I'm glad to hear that you are doing that, because she's a kick-ass woman. And I was just really happy to see that she got what she really deserved. So, and I'm glad to know not only did you get it, but it is what you had expected. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl.
Yeah. And I know Miley has to drop. We've got Rebecca. If you can hang around for another few minutes, we've got Rebecca, and Rebecca was our hopeful. And Rebecca was working in corporate America, got laid off, and was out there trying to get back into corporate America at the same level. And I think out of all the stories, Rebecca's has had the most peaks and turns over the course of the last year. So Rebecca, welcome back. Tell us everything, girl.
That's right. Thanks so much, Cheryl. It definitely has had, I feel like it has been on a roller coaster, but it's definitely been an interesting roller coaster. And I guess I would just say stay ready, right? Because when an opportunity presents itself, you have to just make sure you take that opportunity and really take a look at it. So it's so crazy, it's so funny. I could probably just write a book over just the last year. But as Cheryl mentioned, I did get booted off of the pink couch last year, and which was great. I was super excited. And a little bit of background, I had moved back home to New Orleans. Last year, I was here in New Orleans during the pandemic, and I'd come back there after my time and just, kind of using that period to see what was next. And, when the pandemic hit, like everyone, I just didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, how does that affect the job search, especially when you've been out of the swing of things for a while? But then it definitely presented an opportunity. And so that's why I definitely say stay ready, because that's what I did, and just kept putting myself in spaces and conversations where I knew was going to be beneficial for me. And so I did get a role and worked in a public sector and was over the diversity and inclusion. And this was a different type of role. I've never worked in the public sector before, but I definitely saw this as a challenge. And so I moved back to Chicago last year. And that was interesting too, just moving back in the middle of a pandemic and still just trying to figure out how this work kind of virtual situation is going. And then I had a great time there, really kind of implementing some new things. I was able to work with the employees to help them with unconscious bias training. I even expanded my level and my expertise in diversity, equity, and inclusion space. And it was also a really polarizing time, as Miley was mentioning, how we were all in this space of reckoning, and how the light was shown specifically on DEI work across the country. So this is definitely, DEI is something that I've been doing for years, but this was the first time I had actually really been doing this type of work in such a very polarizing time and climate that we are in right now. So it definitely put things into perspective. And I was able to be a great voice of change and a great voice of innovation to my coworkers and to and what I was doing. And so definitely enjoyed that. I was bringing some new things. We started doing some speaker series. So I was bringing in experts and kind of breaking down that kind of separation of church and state from public sector to private, from the private sector. Of course, with me having a private sector background, I'm utilizing all kinds of resources to really just kind of amplify this subject. So
and then what happened?
Cheryl's like, dun dun. Cheryl's like with the dun dun. In January, I got approached by a headhunter and was really just having the conversation initially that I thought was to plant a seed for future. And Cheryl has taught me this. Whenever you're in a role, you're always thinking about what's next, right? You always want to think about what's next. You always want to think about what that next step is and how you're going to continue to grow. And even, and I think it comes as you're getting older in your career too as well. So even in that moment, I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me have a conversation. Let's think about what's next. And I'm thinking I'm having a conversation to plant a seed for the future, and never thought that I was actually having a conversation to plant a seed for a very big future that was near, like within the next couple of weeks type of future in this conversation. So a communications agency was looking to grow their work in DEI, Global Communications Agency based in Chicago. And so when I saw the role and the opportunity, I thought, man, like if I go back to sort of, the list that you take and that you look at and you think about, your wishes and expectations and what a dream job would look like, that was my
we call those pink elephants.
Yes, the pink elephants. Let me stay on brand. The pink elephants. That was what my goal. That's what my dream job looked like. And so I said to myself, an opportunity again knocks at the door, you have to stay ready. And I just, had conversations, and fast forward, I was able to get another position at the title that I wanted. So I'm at a senior level, vice president role. And I am actually helping this particular organization really expand their diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. So it's great. Yes.
So wait, let me summarize this, because in case anybody who is listening is missing the point.
Yeah.
Rebecca, during a pandemic, got a job, and during a pandemic, got another job.
Yeah.
And each time the role was increasing in responsibility and title and money.
Yeah.
And I want to point that out to everyone out there who may be a little bit discouraged if they're looking and they're thinking, because I remember we had some of those conversations, and Rebecca was like, Cheryl, I don't know how this is going to turn out. Like, what's going to happen to me, right? And if you just keep doing the work and applying yourself, and as she says, you stay ready. Yeah. You stay ready. And Miley pointed out too, taking some of those accomplishments and making sure that they're right at your fingertips, so that when a headhunter calls, like they called Rebecca, she could just start spouting off like all of the things that she had done in her new role. So Rebecca, now you're a VP?
Yes, now I'm a VP.
Hey, all right. So
I'm vice presidential. My friend actually bought me a sweatshirt that says Madam Vice President. And I was just, your tribe is support. But like Cheryl said, I mean, just continuing to just level up to, like Sierra says, leveling up. I've been never thought I was going to get 2 jobs in a pandemic. I went from no job to 2 jobs again. So that's a blessing in of itself. But then again, just realizing the opportunity of where we are. I point to the unfortunate time that we are in, but I was able to say, look, I've got these skills. I've been in this fight. I've been in this space for a while, and this is what I bring to the table. And so when I was able to do that and to speak confidently on these issues to where I am, that is where leaders look at you and say, we can invest in that. This is a space that we want to invest in. Here's a subject matter expert that can actually give us what we need and to continue to enhance what we have already been doing and to really take us to the next level.
I'm sorry. So Fatia is our hopeful. Fatia has her MBA. Rebecca, you got your master's in integrated marketing, and when you started looking before. So what advice do you have for Fatia as part of the search and keeping the spirits up? Because, a lot of people get really discouraged when they've been looking for a minute and going, job interview after job interview. What do you recommend to keep your spirits up? And then Fatia, if you have any specific questions for Rebecca.
Yeah, I think to keep the keeping of the spirits was extremely important, because I made sure I had not only a personal tribe, but a professional tribe, right? I think that is definitely what helped me keep going, in addition to, of course, scouring LinkedIn all hours of the night, rolling over before I said my prayers and looked at my LinkedIn feed. But having the professional and the personal tribe, the professional tribe, that speaks within itself. I meant to say the personal tribe speaks within itself. You're going to have your family, your friends that have been there. But that professional tribe is extremely important, because those are people that you've cultivated throughout your career, who do not know you from your early on days, but definitely support you because they have seen you in action. Whereas if it was at work because you guys were colleagues, or if you met at school, or if you met because you were at in a certain group or in a industry organization, even mentors. Cheryl is one of my big supporters and has been, and is a huge mentor of mine. and just looking at all of those different experiences that you have had access to. And so that is the thing that kept me going as well. And I'm a journaler. So writing on the journal, also the Facebook and Instagram memories that were popping up of things that I used to do. It might sound a little corny, but those are the things that I've said to myself, you can get back to that point, because you're going to have that time where you're riding high, but you can't ride high all the time. That's just not going to work. That's not life. But just because you have your low part, does not necessarily mean that you can't get back to that riding high. And I'm experiencing back to the riding high space. So.
That's a wonderful, that's a wonderful story. I think it's wonderful advice that is applicable for anyone. Ryan, we've been talking about the importance of networking and getting to know people and getting in and showing what you can do, because Ryan's got some great news that we're going to share a little bit later. And so, Rebecca, I think that that's excellent advice for all of the mentees who are looking to grow or go in order to grow. So, Fatia, do you have any questions?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, thank you so much, Rebecca, and all of you for sharing your experiences. I feel like Rebecca's story is very similar to mine. And it sounded like such a rejuvenating and therapeutic experience for you. So, and I know it was for me. I'm just jotting notes here. Like, I'm also a journaler. I also moved back home when the pandemic happened and when I was laid off. But one thing I wanted to ask is, as you were speaking to these people, and one of the things you mentioned that I wrote down was conversations are opportunities to plant seeds. How did you maintain a rapport with these individuals after you got your role? So were some of them, were they in your professional tribe? How much, how long, or how often do you keep in touch with them?
Yeah, I definitely utilize LinkedIn a lot to reach back and to keep in touch, even if it's a quick text, and really depending on the level of the relationship, what have you. If it's a quick text, if we're closer, absolutely. But utilizing LinkedIn was great too, because now, and you also realize I jumped from public sector to private sector, which is two totally different systems, right? And so now I'm in the process of kind of getting back to my roots, if you will, and just saying, hey, I'm back, and just really trying to really, again, to continue to plant those seeds and to continue to say, I'm still in DEI where you met me before, but I'm doing XYZ now, and this is sort of a different thing. I think, again, just keeping in contact and just making sure that you have some sort of level of connection with the person is important. Not to blow it up or blow up the inbox or anything like that, but just to be very proactive about saying this is a new thing, or this is where I'm in my particular career now, or here's how, let's connect, let's reconnect and chat. I'm good for that. I'm vaccinated, so if you want to grab a coffee in person safely, that's also good for me too as well, and the same with that person. So just trying to really make sure to connect, because I think that's definitely, I think, one element that this pandemic has taken from us, and even after whenever we get out of this pandemic, trying to rebuild that level of connection is going to be so important. I'll give a quick story. I had a coffee meeting Friday, and someone asked me for a card, and I was just like, I don't even have a business card because I haven't even been in the office. Like, everything has been so virtual. It's like, call me on Teams. You don't need a business card anymore, right? It's like, call me on Teams. And I felt to myself, dang, I miss business cards, right? So it's just trying to figure out how to be innovative, right? About your connection points, but just making sure that is that you continue to stay connected is so extremely important.
Thank you.
And I think too, you've talked about it, staying connected and while LinkedIn isn't the only place, you guys, it is the place. And I also think another area of staying connected, Miley, I know, has done it because I've seen her virtually a couple of times now, because she's very engaged with a local organization, a local public relations organization. And so she's getting a lot of visibility and name recognition for that. That's another way to kind of up your level of experience and exposure. So, and Rebecca, I've seen a couple of things on LinkedIn that you've been facilitating or sponsoring. And again, LinkedIn isn't the only game in town. And Fatia, I know we talked, and I know you're doing Indeed and Fairy Godmother.
Fairy God Boss, yeah.
Fairy God Boss.
Oh,
And those are, yeah, it's a great platform, Fairy God Boss. And so all of those are great ways to stay with your network. Your network becomes your net worth. And Ryan, as the newbie on the call, the only newbie on the call, I can't stress enough what a great position you're in now to start developing those relationships so that they last you the rest of your life. And Darissa, you as an entrepreneur, you're going to recall people who are starting at the same phase or at about the same time as you are, and watch how you grow with other entrepreneurs. I see a lot of that when I'm getting together with entrepreneurs who have been in the business for a really long time, and they remember when they started out at about the same time as someone else. So however you all can stay connected and engaged, even with this group, right? So hopefully one day we'll have 50 alumni who have come through the Live from the Pink Couch experience, and being able to have that in common. I just think it's really important, no matter what you're doing and where you're doing it, the connections, Darsh, the connections that you're making with these folks who have survived COVID, is really important. And Miley, you've gone from profit to nonprofit and profit, so you've crossed those barriers as well. And Fatia, from the roles that you've had, and also not too long ago, your MBA classmates. Those are all very important. So thank you for bringing that up, Rebecca, because I do think it's important. I'm proud of all of you all. I want to say thank you so much for coming back on and sharing your experience with our current hashtag Next Level Tribe. They're grateful, as I am, and I just want to say keep up the good work. I love seeing about you guys, reading about what you're up to, and hearing other people tell me about your accomplishments and success. So thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
absolutely. Good luck, everyone. I'm on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn.
Bye.
She's on LinkedIn. Connect on LinkedIn, everybody. I'll make sure that you got everybody's last names, but connect on LinkedIn. All right. So we've got a small group today, and we've got a few minutes left to kind of talk through some of your homework assignments. We've got 15 minutes, so I'm going to give 5 minutes each, if that's okay. We'll start with Darissa, your homework assignment. And here on Live from the Pink Couch, every session, the hashtag Next Level Tribe is given a homework assignment that they have the next couple of weeks to complete. And so, Darissa, your homework assignment for episode 4 was to research appropriate pitch competitions, to create a list of potential funders, and provide a funding goal update. So let's start with what is the most important thing, because your pink elephant was to launch your Cosmusic app on Apple's App Store with $50,000 in startup capital in 5 months. And so where are we with the funding goal?
So my pitch competition this past, I think a couple weeks ago now, it was very informative. However, I didn't place, so I didn't win the $8,000 prize, but that's all right.
There's an $8,000 prize?
Yeah, $8,000. And I have entered into the second round of another pitch competition, which will be for $50,000 should I win.
$50,000?
Yes.
Okay, so if you win this, you're gonna get booted out of the tribe, right?
Would be, but I have to launch my app also. But I think it's the second round of 4 rounds. So
Okay, so you made it to the second round.
yes, I made it to the second round. So the next round, I will be submitting a business plan to them. And I think if I make it to the third round, there is more of like a formal interview process and some more vetting and things until you get to the fourth round. So
Okay,
that's
so
going to be a little bit.
let me stop. So how can we help you get through this? We're getting through the second round, right?
Yes.
So that's your business plan, and what else? What are the very specifics of your second round accountability that you have to have?
Yeah, so the first round was completing a very lengthy application. I almost felt like I was applying for a job.
Well, you are, girl, $50,000. That's the same level that Ryan is trying to get his first job at. So
Yes.
yeah, you should look at it like that.
Yes, and they are saying that they haven't revealed how much, but they do say that they want to take a certain percentage of equity out of the company. So the next step would be to complete my business plan for them. I'm intending on completing a one-page business plan that I have gotten a template from SCORE. That's also the pitch competition organization that I did my first pitch competition with. So they provided me with a very cool one-page business plan that I'll be submitting to this other pitch competition by, I think, May 1st or the May 7th. I can't remember the exact date. But
that's like next week, because next
yeah,
Saturday. So I want to see it so
okay.
that we can walk through it and make sure and see. And you should have as many eyeballs as possible who understand
Mhm.
business plans, not just your cousin, but somebody who has, business acumen, who can tell you like, okay, this would jump out or this would needs to be a little bit stronger. So let's make sure your homework assignment is to share that business plan with at least 5 individuals that you trust, and you can make me one of them, and know that they will be able to provide you feedback that will make it stronger or sing the praises if it's great the way it is. But
Mhm.
we want to make sure you go in and nail this. Go on. What else?
Yes. So that is what's going on the funding side. On the development side, I have been going through the process of developing a beta version of the app. Muhammad, as you know, a couple of episodes ago came on. We had a session where we talked through some of the things that I would need to get a beta version together. So I have been immersing myself in how to build apps on Glide Apps and getting all of the different pieces together to hopefully have a beta version to test out in the next couple of weeks. I would like to have a soft launch by May the 13th to get it out into the world and to get feedback from people and hopefully to raise money through the app too, because I will be doing what Mohammed said was to test the most risky assumption, which is that people will pay for your app. So hopefully I'll be able to raise some money through the actual app itself. So that's the goal. Of course, I'll be continuing to be on the lookout for other pitch competitions and grants, as Darsh mentioned. Those are like the best kind, as well as I'm doing my first round of pitching for friends and family round of investing.
You got a lot of friends and family. I'm looking at your homework assignment and I'm like, you got
Yes.
a lot of friends and family, and if they all come through, and we know that they won't all come through, but if you're a friend or family of Darissa, you need to come through. But she's not asking y'all for a lot of money, but she does need your assistance, and it'll get you closer to at least 10,000 of that. Pretty close.
Yes, at least 10,000. So my hope is that I can raise about 10,000 through the friends and family rounds, maybe another couple of thousand from doing a soft launch of the app. And some of that may overlap. And then whatever I can get in terms of pitching and grant applications, that's kind of the goal for raising the funding.
Okay, that sounds great. And we need everyone out there to support Darissa. Darissa, how, if anyone wanted to invest, where would we go?
Yeah, so I do have my website. It's www.cosmusic.app. You can reach me through there. And I'm also on social media. My social media handles are all the same on all the major social media platforms. It's at Cosmusic app. I can be reached through there. I manage my own social media. And I am absolutely interested in pitching individual investors if they are interested in supporting someone at the pre-seed round. There are several levels. Pre-seed, which is basically like you haven't raised any revenue yet through your product. Seed is where you probably have some revenue, you have a finished product. And then you have your higher levels. People hear about Series A, Series B, and all that kinds of things. Those are more heavy investor things.
That's the stuff that Ryan's going to be
Yes.
working with.
Ryan can give me some pointers on that. But yeah, I would look
Okay.
to people individually about pre-seed investing, or if they want to just share some tips, I would appreciate that as well.
And I don't remember if I sent the email, Lori Cook, I know you're out there listening. We had an opportunity where I went and spoke to a group of angel investors in March. And we need to connect Dorissa with the young woman who invited me to come out to speak, because she could probably give you, Dorissa, hints on what they look for in investors that they decide to invest with, and I think it would be a great start. So you're off to a great start. I love this, and congratulations on your successes over the course of the last couple of weeks. But we're gonna get that $50,000. So let us see that business plan, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
And 5 other people. That's your homework.
Okay, thank you.
Great, you're welcome. All right, Ryan, our newbie. Ryan is a recent graduate. He graduated in December. He has no previous job experience. He had also never interned before, and he's seeking a $51,000 to $56,000 salary. But Ryan, you got some news for us. So let's hear all of your updates over the course of the last 2 weeks. His pink elephant goal was, I'm an investment analyst for a middle market or bulge bracket firm making $51,000 to $56,000 a year in the next 4 months. Ryan, tell me what's going on.
Yes. So the venture capital fellowship that I applied for, I got it. I got the. They told me that they sent me the offer letter the same day, signed it. So now I'm just waiting until June to start. Right now.
So it starts in June and it runs for 8 weeks.
It does.
Okay, so it starts in June and runs for 8 weeks. The company is based out of where?
New York City.
New York. And how's that going to work? Are you moving to New York? Tell us what that's like.
So for the I talked to the person who's going to oversee what I do, and she told me that it's 7 weeks remote, and then for the last week, they want to fly us out there, and like just to have like an in-person kind of like lunch and to get to know us on like a not screen basis.
Love it. And you are working remotely from Chicago, and you have, how many other fellowship members are there, Ryan?
I am not sure about that. I won't know until we start.
Okay, so but you said a they, so it's more than just yourself.
Yeah, I know it's more than one.
So that means if there's more than just you, and they probably aren't going to hire everyone. If they're going to hire anybody, they're going to hire the person who stands out. So one of the number one things that I always stress with a new person going into a new role is the importance, even when you're working virtually, is establishing connections and relationships with your team members and with the individuals that you're going to be reporting to. So one of the first things you should try to do is to establish from whoever your direct report is, the person that you're going to report directly into, I should say, find out what success looks like from their perspective for your role.
Okay.
And best as you can, have them give it to you in a metric oriented fashion. So that when you say, well, what does success looks like? Well, Ryan, success means just do your best. No,
Right.
you're going to go in doing your best. No, Ryan, it means that you're going to be able to track 50 companies a day for us on their investments or whatever. You need metric oriented numbers so that you can make sure you're hitting whatever that success formula looks like for them, that you're not just hitting it, you're going above it, Ryan. So if
Mhm.
they tell you they want you to research 50 clients' investments a day, you go for 55 or 60. It may
Yeah.
mean you may lose some sleep, but
Mhm.
what you want to do is you need to stand out heads and shoulders above everybody else. The other important thing is don't just do, and Fatia, this is going to be for you also when you get in your first job, don't just do what they ask you to do. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's what Chris Rock says. A dad doesn't get credit for babysitting his own kids. That's what he's supposed to do.
Mhm.
You want to go above and beyond that which is on that job description that you have. Okay. In every single way. So I want you to think about the 8 weeks from June, July, August. So through June through the end of July, 1st of August. Don't plan on getting any sleep, Ryan. You don't need to sleep. You got the rest of your little 20
Mhm.
something year old life to sleep. You hear me?
Understood.
You just want to go, 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 go. Because people hire go getters. They will make a role for you if it doesn't exist, if they see that you are like running full throttle all out and making sure that you are going beyond what's given of you. That makes sense?
It does.
And then the other part is you also still have to keep up the negotiations. I'm sorry, the networking, because if this doesn't turn into a full-time job, you don't want to be starting back from ground zero.
Yeah.
So you still have to find time while you're running full throttle. Welcome to the adult world, people. While you're still running full throttle, you also want to make sure that you're taking time out to continue that networking. And as part of that, your homework assignment was to identify who you were going to network with to get a full-time job at some of the companies you had identified. And I see that you've got someone from Citigroup, someone from BMO Harris, and someone from Diversio.
Hmm.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Diversio, yes.
Okay. So you've identified those individuals. Have you had a chance to reach out to them yet?
Yes. I talked to Demetrius for 20 minutes on Wednesday. Calvin is already a good friend of mine, so I was able to just reach out through there. And then I was supposed to talk to Alex on Friday, but he canceled.
Okay. So have you rescheduled with Alex?
He asked for a time that works for him. I told him my schedule, so I'm waiting for him to reply on LinkedIn right now.
Great. Very good. I'm glad you did the three. That's wonderful. Don't forget, Fatia, because I know you're doing this as well. I'm reaching out to folks. When you reach out to individuals, ask them if they know three other individuals that you can connect with. Because everybody knows everybody in the
Yeah.
industries. These industries tend to be very incestuous. So keep that in mind. Great job, Ryan. We are proud of you. Any
Thank you.
questions or anything you have for
Yeah.
me?
So as far as you said with networking, so like ask for three people. It's funny you say that because Calvin, when I talked to him, he introduced me to somebody named Will Green, who works at Loop Capital in New York City. So
Yes.
I'm gonna reach out to him again to just about the positions there in New York.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous. And I forward that information on as well. Like we talked about that. So I have forwarded that on. So hopefully you should be hearing something from that as well. But ask three people who can ask three people, and so on and so on and so on. You're doing great, Ryan. Yay.
Thank you.
Okay, last but not least is Fatia. Fatia is a marketing, her pink elephant goal is I'm a marketing data visualization manager at a tech or healthcare company focusing on consumer behavior, making $85,000 to $100,000 in 6 months. So she was downsized during COVID because of COVID. She has an MBA and she's worked short stints at multiple companies, and she's seeking a salary of at least $100,000. And so, Fatia, your homework assignment was to continue to set up informational interviews with target companies. And so, how's that going? What's happening?
It's going great, actually. So this week was filled with a lot of informational interviews. I actually today, this afternoon, got a LinkedIn message back from someone that's actually on maternity leave. And she said, I would love to speak to you based on your introduction. So we're speaking tomorrow. So that's been good. The two other HR individuals I spoke. So every day this week, I spoke to at least two people. Those individuals, someone I asked, can I be connected to two or three more additional people? And someone invited me to their Slack group, which is a group of people either looking for roles, either trying to level up, or have information that they want to share. So I just joined a community on Slack called Cultivators, in which we can do virtual networking, but also introduce ourselves and share what we're currently up to. And that's been really helpful. Additionally, with another organization, that person that I was interested in the role has left that organization and moved on to something else. So I reached out to him again to let him know that I'm still in the market and this is a role that I'm interested in. And if he knew anyone from that previous position that could assist me in getting to know about the culture of the company. So that's been going well. I think for this upcoming week, it's more so doing the job applications. So I spend usually part of my day doing one or the other, but I think now I want to laser focus on actually getting the applications out with the companies and then scheduling an informational interview. Because I think I've been doing the latter, or I've been doing it the opposite way. And I actually missed out on a role that was already filled by the time I spoke to the person at the company. So
yeah, so I think that's a great point to mention, Fatia, is apply, 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 and then ask, during your informational interview if they know of anyone who has any connection with the role that you're applying for. I also encourage you, Ryan and Fatia, to keep an interview slash or a resume slash interview ratio, so that you know how many resumes does it generally take for you to push out before you get an interview. Because things happen, resumes fall between the cracks, but don't get discouraged, because for every 5, 10, 20 resumes you send out, you'll get an interview. And understanding that, it'll make it more of a game for you to send out the resumes. It's like, okay, that's one. Now do like the little hashtag, but what a real hashtag is, not the hashtag that has become known, but keep like hash marks of how many you sent out, or a spreadsheet, so that what it looks like for you in terms of, well, I've sent out 6, and usually my average is I send out 6 resumes and I get, 1 interview. Know what your ratio is, because I think that's important to kind of keep track of.
yeah.
Are there any questions?
The only question I had is when it comes to the interview, the resume and interview ratio, how often would you suggest to reach back out to the person if you haven't heard back after maybe an initial phone screen? I've heard a little bit of different things, and a lot of different things I found online. I usually stop at the second time, and I usually do it every 10 days, but is there a specific way you do it or a way you would suggest, please?
Yeah, I think the 10 days, a week to 10 days sounds great. I wouldn't go further out than that, because by then you're really off of my radar. But if you send something, every 10 days, every 7 to 10 days, just asking about an update or the status, that is not too what's the word I'm looking for? It's not going to be considered overly aggressive. And I would send it out twice. So that's, within a month period, you've reached out 2 times. Generally, jobs aren't going to stay on much longer than that. And you also have an idea, if you send it out twice and they haven't gotten back to you, they probably moved on and they're just being rude recruiters and they don't reply back. And I still think that in the age of automation, that it should be an easy way to send people an automated email that just brings closure. So they're not wondering whether or not you're still in the running. Just an automated email that says, we're sorry, we've gone in a different direction. I much rather respect that than someone that I have to keep asking, like, hey, or just double checking to see if there's still an interest or whatever. But there are still people out there who just send your stuff into limbo and you don't know what happened.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, guys, and ladies, I'm sorry. It's been great. I hope having an opportunity to hear from last year's #NextLevelTribe has been helpful for you. Any questions before we go?
I don't have anything.
Okay, we just got to stay focused on it. I know we talked about elevator pitches before, but have we done them on here live? And have you been comfortable with them? Okay, and are you using them now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm going to say this really quickly because one of you told me when we had a conversation offline that someone said that your elevator pitch sounded a little bit, filtered and rehearsed. I want you to memorize it, but I don't want you to act like you memorized it. I want it to come out sounding natural. Okay? I need it to sound natural. That being said, I will talk with you on our next episode 2 weeks from today.
Yes.
Bye, everybody. Keep up the good work.
Check out the progression of all of our participants at Cheryl's channel of Fabulosity on YouTube, or learn more about the coaching programs and services we offer at IamCherylGrace.com. This has been a Powerful Penny LLC Pink Elephant production.